Everybody got quiet. Wow. I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would join me, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Withington?
Here.
Commissioner Lawson? Here. Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
That brings us to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion related to this evening's agenda?
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of our agenda. Are there any comments? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson? Aye. Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
That brings us to public comments next. Are there any members of the public who would wish to comment this evening before the commission, or any elected officials or any other members present? Seeing none. The next on the agenda, number 6, is immediate action. Administrator?
Yes, there are two items on the agenda for immediate action this evening. The first item is commission meeting minutes from January the 18th at 3 p.m., January 25th at 6 p.m., and February 1st at 2:45 p.m. In addition, Resolution 2023-46 is a resolution authorizing invoice payments from January 26th to February 2nd in the total amount of $1,162,369.77 for 238 invoices.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion related to the immediate action agenda?
Move to approve the immediate action items of meeting minutes in 2023-46.
Motion's been made with approval of the immediate action items. Discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson? Aye. Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Next is our consent agenda. Administrator?
Yes, there are 4 items on the consent agenda. Resolution 2023-38 is rescinding Resolution 2022-416 and approving the subdivision approval of Northbrook Farms. Resolution 2023-39, which is approval and acceptance of a letter of credit for the Northbrook Farms subdivision. Resolution 2023-34, which is acceptance of a term and supply contract with Penny's Concrete and Geiger Ready Mix for concrete for the Highway Department. And Resolution 2023-33, appointing Gary Zabarak as the County Health Officer.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion related to this evening's consent agenda?
Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson? Aye. Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
That brings us to our regular agenda. First on our regular agenda is 2023-43. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-43 is the appointment of 2 members to the Airport Advisory Board, Todd Crosley and Robert Wright, with a term expiration of December 31st, 2024.
And that was one of the ones, I'm trying to scroll down there so I have it in front of me. That is one of the motions that, the nominations that I put forward. They are both, as with all the appointments that we have later on the agenda, these are all existing members who wish to continue serving in those capacities. Mr. Crosley was here and addressed the commission on related issues at our last meeting. With that, are there any questions or comments?
I just have one comment.
Please.
And that is, as I apologize, hit that. I just have one comment, and I'm not always trying to be argumentative, but here's something that kind of grates on my nerves. I have no problem supporting all of these people that are listed on the boards, and I think they're all wonderful people, and I would vote in a heartbeat for all of them, and will. However, while I know you have the authority to appoint, and we got the email from our county counselor or our county administrator saying that here's the state statute that says you have no say in this, and I would have thought that you would have had the courtesy and respect to speak to the other commissioners and allow us the opportunity to select board appointments. And I'm hoping that for the future, for the park and some of the other boards, I have some people that want to get on. I think there's some probably others that have some individuals they'd like to appoint, and I'd like to have the opportunity, even though you have complete power. So that's all I got to say.
The only, just to clarify, the only authority I have on these boards and commissions is to nominate, obviously. If the commission does not wish to approve those, then that is certainly the prerogative of the commission by a vote, and then we would go back and see about other possible nominations. Further comments or questions? Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I'll just slightly piggyback onto that. Of course, these were reappointments, and I fully support the people we've placed on the boards and commissions moving forward. But I would just ask, moving forward, if all the applications for all of them, please be distributed to all of the commission members so we can see them. Because we don't get to know who else, so we can't have a say if we are not informed. So, thank you.
Okay. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2023-43?
Move to approve 2023-43.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-43. Further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson.
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes?
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
That brings us to 2023-44. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-44 is appointment of members to the Development Disabilities Resource Board. There are two names in the resolution, Janet White and Alan Naylor. The terms would expire January 31st, 2026.
Once again, these are nominations that I made, and they are both incumbents. And I think those names were put out there at some point. Certainly when we circulate those nominations before they are put on for consideration, that would be a good time to consider them. We are just kind of starting this process. We've got a lot of nominations to go through, and just coming off budget, I think we're going to have the ability to have a little bit more notification than we had, but certainly that is where I would like to be going, is to allow a little bit more time. But as I say, we need to work through our system and how it is we're going to work the process of nominating and approving people to work on our boards and commissions. With that, further discussion. Any questions or comments? Very well. Is there a motion related to 2023-44?
Move to approve 2023-44.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-44. Further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson.
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes?
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
That brings us to 2023-45. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-45 is the appointment to the Board of Equalization. There is one name on the resolution, Jim Rucker, whose term would expire December 31st, 2025.
And that is the last of the immediate series. Once again, Mr. Rucker is a currently serving member. Certainly we need to go ahead and keep that going, because they start their work while they do a lot of work related to property taxes. Their work certainly doesn't start when property taxes go out, so they need to be underway. With that, any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2023-47? Oh, excuse me, 45.
Move to approve 2023-45.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-45. Further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson. Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
That brings us to 2023-47. Administrator.
Resolution 2023-47 is approving invoice payments for the Clay County Prosecutor's Office from January 26th to February 2nd. Total amount is $4,942.85 for 12 invoices.
Very well. Are there any questions or comments on 2023-47?
Hey, Jerry, I do.
Yes, sir.
So maybe I'm just don't know, but why is it every week we have invoices to approve?
Go ahead. Is your microphone on?
Yeah, it's on.
Oh, good, okay, good.
Why is it every week we have to approve these invoices for the prosecutor's office and not any of the other departments? I just don't know.
Administrator, would you like to address
I'd be
that?
happy to answer that.
Yeah,
So
thank
up
you.
above, under immediate action, you will see all the invoices that were approved countywide on all the other county departments. Prosecutor's office is separated individually because we have a commissioner who chooses to abstain.
I understand now. Thank you. I didn't know why. Now I do.
No, if you don't ask questions, you don't get answers. Absolutely. The only bad question is one that doesn't get asked, so no problem. Any further questions or discussion on 2023-47? Seeing none, is there a motion for 2023-47?
Move to approve 2023-47.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-47. Discussion, seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
I'm going to recuse myself.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
That brings us to 2023-32. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-32 is approving a lease and service agreement with Lineage Postage Meter for Quadrant Leasing for the Circuit Clerk's Office.
Questions or comments for 2023-32? Seeing none, is there a motion on 2023-32?
Move to approve 2023-32.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-32. Further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson, Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
That brings us to 2023-10. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-10 is approval of the 2023 sole source vendors. The staff presented on this last week. There were some questions that were asked, and so that information was updated and provided in the packet with regard to the reasoning behind each one that is considered a sole source. And staff is here to answer any questions that you may have about that additional information.
Very good. Are there any questions or comments on 2023-10? Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. No question, just appreciation that it appears in our packet. Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion for 2023-10?
A move to approve 2023-10.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-10. For the discussion, seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson, Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
That brings us to 2023-37. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-37 is approving a supplemental number 1 change order for engineering services for the ARPA Stormwater Project. Staff presented information on this. The contract was with CFS Engineers. And we're happy to answer any additional questions.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2023-37?
Move to approve 2023-37.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2023-37. Further discussion, seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yay.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Next on our agenda is 2023-31. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-31 is approving a professional services contract with Sapphire LLC for website consulting and design for the tourism website. Staff presented on this last week, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion for 2023-31?
Move to approve 2023-31.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-31. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
That comes to 2023-35. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-35 is approving a professional services agreement with Columbia Capital Management for financial advisory services. Again, staff presented on this last week, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions on 2023-35? Commissioner Lawson?
Okay, here I go again, sorry. Okay, so last week when we spoke, and you had brought up the fact that the audit had come back and advised, well, that threw me for a loop because I thought if it was on the audit, we had to do it. But I find out that it is perhaps a strong suggestion, but a suggestion. So here's my question. Today, we have everything in place to do this. Today. There's already companies that take care of our stocks. There's companies that do all that for us. Now, if we were getting ready to build a jail and we needed bonds, something of that nature, then I think this is the company to go to. But for right now, and with the treasurer being hanging out there unknown, I sincerely feel that this is just a duplication of services. And I would like very much, here, one thing, go back a minute. If they give you advice, now it could be just advice on, say, some new program you were going to put into effect and they needed to be able to talk to you about it. You felt like they were the people that could give you some advice. They're like $350, or it's over $300 for them to give you that advice. Where what we do today, we don't have any fee on that. There is no fee to do that. So here's all I'm asking. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the tight budget that we were in. Was this stuff in the budget? Was it a budget item that we had?
There are dollars allocated in the budget for consulting services for a nominal amount. And so to answer your question with a financial advisor, it depends on the project. If it is a question that we call up and say, we're working on a project, we're working on a process, we're working on a policy, what is is this best practice? They're not going to charge us $300. So again, because it depends on the scope of the work that we send to them to do. Now, if we ask them to write a policy for us, then I would expect them to charge us for that. But to use them as sort of best practice, run it past them, I don't anticipate that they will give us a fee for that. You mentioned the detention center. One of the advantages is when we start having those discussions about doing a detention center, you want to have the financial advisor in place to talk about what are the financial options, depending on the dollars we're talking about, to have them at the table at the beginning of the process, not develop it all the way through, and then realize the financing mechanism we thought may not be the best for the county and the most feasible and most economical. So having them involved in those processes in the beginning is very valuable to the county.
That makes perfect sense, but you know, I'm still going to go back to the fact, in their document, it states a money figure. My feeling is they can say, don't worry about it, just call us. And then we get a bill, you know. And so either they put it in writing and say, for you to run things by us that are these kinds of things, no charge. We're going to do that out of goodwill. But if they're not willing to do that, then I say, I would sincerely like to do what we talked about doing. And that is just to hold this till July. We're not going to start a big building in the next 8 months to, you know, put a new jail up or anything. If we can hold this until we can see how our money is going, since this isn't this particular person wasn't actually physically in the budget. I think we could hold this till July, see how everything goes financially, if all is going well, if things turn out a certain way for the treasurer and he's gone away, then great, let's bring this in. If he's still there, then this is kind of in his area of responsibility, and I think he should have some input on it. So anyway, that's all I'm saying is I'd like to see this thing held just until July and see how everything goes, and then proceed if all is well.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none. Is there a motion related to 2023-35?
Move to approve 2023-35.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-35. Any further discussion?
Just
Commissioner
one
Johnson.
quick comment. Thank you, sir. Just for clarification and kind of follow up on what Commissioner Lawson was saying, the approval of this is not approving specifically any funding to be spent at this point, right? It's just to implement into a contract in
That is
case we
correct.
want
This
to.
is like a terms and agreement. This is on an as-call needed. So if they're never called, there's no expense. If we don't ask them to do anything for us, there's no expense. And we do that, we have terms and condition contracts that we bring to you all the time, and it's not a guarantee unless we buy something or use their services, we don't pay for it.
And we could certainly cancel this anytime we wanted to.
Yes, or if they charge us, if we feel like they're going to charge us for every time we call them, then we don't call them anymore, if that's a concern.
Any further questions? Is that covered for you? Okay. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, motion has been made for the approval of 2023-35. As we have finished now questions and comments, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson.
No,
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Next on our agenda, and I believe this might be our last item. Let me turn the page right quick. Yes, it is. Last item on our regular agenda is 2023-48. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-48 is establishing a section of Jesse James Farm Road in honor of Charles Charlie S. Broomfield.
And I believe that is Commissioner Withington's issue, so if you'd like to lead off, please go right ahead.
You know, I said everything I needed to say last week. I don't think, there's no one new here, so I'm not going to waste everybody's time. So I'm just going to make a motion that we approve it.
Okay, motion has been made for the approval of 2023-48. Discussion, any comments or questions? Commissioner Johnson.
I'll just repeat my comments that I made last week, and again, I don't want to offend Mr. Broomfield or my colleague over here, but I just kind of have a standing policy that I don't like approving these kinds of things because I think they're too subjective, and I think that you can go down the political road of naming or honoring roads for, you know, someone might want Ronald Reagan, someone might like Hillary Clinton, and that could cause some problems for one or the other party. So just for that reason, I'm always going to be a no vote on this. Certainly if a no vote or an abstention, one or the other, I just won't be voting in favor of it.
Okay, excuse me, Counselor?
Yeah, may I jump in just real quick? Just remind everybody, this is here tonight on first read. This was not up last week. It was discussed last week, but it's here tonight on first read. So the options to pass it tonight would require a unanimous vote or a vote to put it on to next week's agenda, are the two options.
Okay, so just to make sure we got all the Ts dotted and Is crossed, what would be the result of an abstention on a commissioner's part?
If the vote was, make sure I do my math right, five yea, one abstention, it would pass.
Okay, so
That would be considered unanimous vote.
that would constitute a unanimous vote. I
Yes.
figured it did, but I thought I'd better make sure I had my Robert's rules straight.
Yes.
And also I wanted to explain it to the group. So, Commissioner, is that, very good. Commissioner Carpenter?
Just to jump in, I think the idea is to wait till next week when Charlie's here, right? So I don't know that we want to,
Well, he's going to come next week anyway to get a proclamation from us. So if we can approve this tonight.
Okay.
That,
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
he's going to be here regardless next week, so.
Works for me.
If I can interject, yeah, this is sort of housekeeping to have that in place. And so he will be under ceremonial matters next week to get a proclamation. And if this is approved, we'll also have the sign available that
Oh, perfect, yeah.
he would be able to see that before it actually gets installed.
All right, Commissioner. Well, pressure's on down there.
Thank you for
Let's try and do it.
clarification. Further comments or discussion, questions? Seeing none, Commissioner Thompson. It's looking right at you, Commissioner Withington. Commissioner Thompson's back there. Commissioner Withington, you are recognized.
She's better looking than me. I'm bald-headed, so I don't know how you mixed us up. I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Abstain.
Very good. That concludes our regular agenda. That brings us to County Administrator comments. County Administrator.
Thank you. Just a couple. One is to announce the next meeting of the commission is a work session next Wednesday, February the 15th at 3 o'clock here in the chambers. Also to remind everyone that the administrative offices of the county-wide will be closed on Monday, February 13th, in observance of Lincoln's birthday. And last but not least, and certainly I think Commissioner Whittington has the flair here, is Go Chiefs this weekend.
That brings us to Commissioner comments, and I think that we will start with our embodiment of the Chief's Kingdom with Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, so we had talked about, last week about putting people on commissions, or boards and commissions. I went back and I looked at our MARC board for active transportation. We have 2 empty seats there. We've had 0 attendance on that committee. That committee, MARC has just approved $65 million in funding this year. The active transportation committee made $18 million in recommendations for trails and other infrastructure. We don't have anybody on that committee, so I'd like to see us get those 2 seats filled soon. If you need somebody, I'll volunteer to serve on it. But yeah, we need to make sure we have a presence on that commission. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Lawson.
Just a couple things. Thank everybody for being here this evening and finally got that poor lady taken care of. I was glad to see that was a done deal. When I make statements and ask questions, there is absolutely nothing personal in what I say. I feel like I'm here because the people wanted me here. I won by a nice, big, fat majority. So I'm going to do what the people want me to do. And if I feel that I need to fight for something or make a statement about something, I'm going to do it. And if people don't like it, they'll just have to get over it. But I mean no malice in what I say. I'm saying it because it's coming from my heart and I feel like it's the right thing to say. So bear with me, listen to all the stuff I have to say. You don't like it, walk away. You like it, give me a hug. So that's all I got.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I'm not sure if the over-under on the completion of tonight's business is at 6:30, so I'm just going to say go Chiefs and thank everybody very much.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, no, go Chiefs.
Commissioner Thompson.
No comments this week.
Commissioner Johnson? Yeah, I could hardly not say go Chiefs, I mean, after all. But yes, thank you, everybody, for participating. And I just want to reiterate and support the comments made by Commissioner Lawson. We need to have full discussion on everything. And I think that we're all pretty much grown-ups and understand that we've got to have some give and take. So I appreciate the participation of the commission, and I look forward to more discussion. So thank you very much for that. That concludes commissioner comments. That brings us to reports. I'm sorry, that would be the clerk. Would it not? Did I skip one? Reports? Auditors, I'm sorry. I thought that, okay, yes. Okay, we have reports. I'm going to hand it over to you, Administrator, and let you take care of that.
Yes, included in your packet is the auditor's monthly cash basis report for January of 2023.
Very good. And then that brings us to recess and adjournment.